Hello and welcome to Aso TV News. I am Joy Annie. The headlines. President Tinubu commiserates with Oyo State government victims over Ibadan explosion. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun launches special intervention squad to tackle kidnapping in Abuja. FCT Department of Development Control to commence clean-up exercise of all motor parks. And Business says Budget and Economic Planning Ministry inaugurates committee to tackle food security. And now the news in detail. President Bola Tinubu has expressed sadness over the devastating explosion that occurred on Tuesday night in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. The president, in a statement via his spokesperson, Chief Andrew Ngalale, said it is worrisome that the cause of the blast is being attributed to the activities of illegal miners, adding that those behind the inexcusable and reckless behavior that has created the conditions for the sad incident to occur must be fished out and punished. President Tinubu commiserated with the government and people of Oyo State and called on all concerned agencies of government to unravel the circumstances that led to the tragedy and alacrity. He directs the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to work with the Oyo State government to offer immediate and comprehensive relief to the victims. The explosion killed 2 persons and wounded about 80 others. It also destroyed several buildings, vehicles, and other properties. Meanwhile, a member of the House of Representatives from Oyo State, Mr. Stanley Adedeji, says only thorough investigation supported by corresponding action could forestall reoccurrence of the massive explosion that left some Nigerians dead, many others injured, and properties destroyed on Tuesday in Ibadan. Now, the member representing Ibadan Northwest, Southwest Federal Constituency in the House, while briefing newsmen on Wednesday at the National Assembly, expressed sadness describing the incident as one too many. He commended the state governor's effort in swiftly identifying cause of the explosion and the first emergency responders. The member, in company of a colleague from Lagos State, Mr. Aliyu Kuye, said the incident further exposed the need to revisit the issue of state policing and the dire need for the security agencies to control possession of weapons and storage.
Remember, we've also been talking about state police, we've been talking about community police. So I think, situation like this would actually present an urgency to the matter so that way we can get the right support that we need to pass whatever legislation that we need to pass for this. So definitely we're going to pick this up, and it's going to be in the front burner of the activity of the House as soon as we reconvene as a House. Also, the control of explosive. If you have this kind of explosive that could do this much damage, so that means that this thing is relatively available in the hands of the wrong people. So we also have to look at how these things are stored, and so we're going to take a holistic approach to all of this. It's not going to be one of those things that will be done in a hurry to just quickly come to, I sympathize with my people from Oyo State, Ibadan, to be specific. May Almighty Allah, offer relief to the people who have lost their life.
I just want to further reiterate the position of my colleague that there is need for physical federalism, and that can lead us quickly to having state police. I believe that the president that we have has campaigned based on these promises, and I think and I know that he's going to work with the National Assembly to ensure that we have state police very, very.
National Assembly correspondent Rosemary Kogotaga reports that the House awaits a comprehensive report from the affected state to enable it turn in appropriate relief support. President Bola Tinubu has presided over the first Federal Executive Council FEC meeting of the year 2024 at the Council Chambers of the State House at Abuja. President Tinubu also oversees the swearing-in ceremony for Ambassador Desmond Akawa, officially appointed as the Federal Commissioner of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission following Senate ratification. The meeting, which commenced at around 12:50 p.m. on Wednesday, January 17th, is being attended by all members of the Cabinet. In attendance are Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, the House of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemi Esho, the President, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, as the Chief of Staff to the President, and National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu. And the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, held a town hall meeting with residents of Buhari Area Council over the incessant kidnapping and killings in the area. A former senator who represented FCT, Philip Tanimu Aduda, the Buhari Council of Chiefs, security agencies and officials of the area councils are also part of the meeting. Recall that public outcry had trailed reports of the death of Nebina Al-Qadriya, who was kidnapped along with 22 others in Buhari area of the FCT, and 13-year-old Folashade Rio, who was kidnapped alongside 11 others, amongst whom were 3 of her siblings and her mother at the Sagwari estate layout in Duse Alhaji area of Abuja. Meanwhile, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Barrister Nyesom Wike, has assured that the administration is taking steps to address security challenges affecting some sections of the FCT. The minister gave the assurance while addressing journalists before a closed-door emergency security meeting in Abuja.
All of us are aware of the security situation in the Federal Capital Territory, particularly Buhari and some other areas that were witnessed security challenges. Yes, I'm aware that sometimes too the press overblow what is happening, but all of us are concerned as the Federal Capital Territory that houses virtually every Nigerian. We owe a duty to make sure that this place is safe. We'll do all we can, and we're sure Nigerians who reside here that there's no need for panic.
The minister explained the meeting was to look into the security challenges and find practical ways to address them. He added that all the chairmen of the area councils were invited for the meeting, as they also have a responsibility in their various councils.
And that's why we invited all the council chairmen, because they also have a responsibility in their various area councils. So I put our head together and come up with solutions. So for the press, it's just for you to know that we are not sleeping. Security agencies are also not sleeping. We provide every support that they require in order to allay the fears of the citizens.
That was Barrister Nyesom Wike, Minister of the FCT. And now, the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, has launched the Special Intervention Squad, SIS, to curb the activities of kidnappers in some part of the Federal Capital Territory. He said the initiative is not just born out of necessity, but out of foresight, diligent planning and commitment to enhancing the already robust security architecture of the nation's capital. The IGP maintained that FCT remains a bastion of safety and an example of efficient urban security management, adding that the force's pursuit of excellence must proactively address even the slightest sign of potential threat. He said the operation is envisioned to include 1,000 personnel in each state, with officers and men from each tactical unit of the force supplemented by a formidable arsenal of operational assets, including sophisticated arms, drones and vehicles, and a clear message that criminal elements will find no sanctuary within the FCT and by extension, Nigeria. The IGP added that they are collaborating with the military and other security agencies in ensuring a swift and decisive end to the era of terror ravaging the country. To all citizens, he assured that this operation is not a mere symbolic act. It is a tangible demonstration of dedication to security, as it recognized the suffering endured by victims of violent crimes and the anxiety pervading the Nigerian communities. Non-proliferation of illegal motor parks in Abuja is becoming a matter of concern to the FCT administration. To this end, the Department of Development Control has resolved to commence a clean-up exercise of all the motor parks in the nation's capital, as well as close down unauthorized ones. Let's hear more from Usman Katun Umar.
Town planner Mukhtar Usman Galadima, who made this disclosure when he led his team on a sensitization tour of some motor parks in the city, said this move will eradicate many vices, including armed robbery, commonly called one chance.
Part of the effort to sanitize the Federal Capital City is to make sure that no illegal motor park on the road. So that's why we are trying to see that we sensitize the operators of this illegal motor park and tell them that we are giving them deadline to comply with our directives.
Dr. Peter Olumuji, Secretary, Command and Control Center, FCTA Department of Security Services, and Kakabello of the Abuja Environmental Protection Board, noted that if motor parks were not used for intended purposes, they would turn into areas harboring criminals who would cause insecurity in the territory.
If parks are not used for the purpose which is meant for, these criminal elements have come to take over those areas. Like we have drug. If you are looking for high concentration of illicit drugs, you find it here in Gogolada Park. You've seen some unregistered vehicles within this place. So the holistic clearance we are going to be carrying out will unplug all those vices from taking place within the city center, because the residents need to commute in a safe and secured transportation system. As a responsible government, these parks have been provided in various parts of the city, and standards were given, and those standards are to improve on the quality of the environment. Unfortunately, the operators of this park have refused to operate these parks based on the standards, and that is why we are here to ensure these standards.
On his part, Yusuf Alabi, Chairman, FCT Nigerian Union of Road Transport Workers, who pledged the support of his union, blamed the poor condition of the parks on the fact that they were handed to the wrong persons for management.
I am in charge of FCT Parks all, and in FCT plan there is no park. Here is not a park, it's a terminal registered by the FCT Transport Secretariat, and it is their primary responsibility when giving out a terminal like this. There are some guidelines that government separate down before you came in. I think they have mixed the guidelines. Otherwise, things like this could have not happened.
The union leadership therefore appealed to the FCTA to give the motor parks to the right persons who know how to manage them. Usman Katun Umar, Aso Television News.
You're watching Aso Television News. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 392, also on StarTimes TV channel 127 and Free TV channel 507. We are also on the UHF band on channel 38. Now, still to come on the news. Budget and Economic Planning Ministry inaugurates a steering committee to tackle food security. Stay with us for details of this story and more just after this break.
Oh dear residents of the FCT, the dry season is here again, a time when the harmattan haze is intense and combustibles burn faster. So be responsible and take precautions. Stop bush burning. Stop the sale of gas in areas not approved for such purpose. Make sure you put off all electric appliances when leaving home or the office. Remember, fire is an obedient servant and a bad master, and has caused colossal damage to lives and property in our dear territory. Support FCT Emergency Management Agency today to prevent fire disaster. For any emergencies in the FCT, call FEMA on the 112 toll-free number or 080-5722-4574. FEMA, reducing disaster risk for a safe and happy FCT.
Many thanks for staying there. Now to the rest of the news. The newly appointed Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Environment, Mahmoud Adam Gambari, has pledged his commitment to execution of the Ministerial Performance Band for the Presidential Priorities and Deliverables 2023 to 2027, signed with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. On assumption of office today at the ministry's headquarters, the Permanent Secretary promised to ensure alignment of the activities of the ministry with the 6 pillars of the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan 2021 to 2025 for high impact performance. Environment correspondent Joycelyn Elakache Ada brings us details.
The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Mahmoud Adam Gambari, called on all heads of agencies and directors under the ministry to brainstorm on and come up with suggestions on how to move the ministry forward and engage with strategic partners and stakeholders both locally and internationally. He said only teamwork, strict adherence to the Code of Ethics, excellent rules and regulations can lead to fulfillment of the ministry's mandate.
In the coming weeks, I will be engaging with each and every department agency under this ministry to gain deeper understanding of the operations, challenges and opportunities. I am committed to fostering environments that will encourage open communication where every staff feel heard and valued.
Welcoming the PAMSEC to office, heads of agencies and directors under the ministry assured of their unwavering support and commitment in the exhibition of their duties.
We are going to work with you, cooperate with you, listen to you. A lot of us have been very lucky. This is one ministry that operates the best in the system. I'm not afraid to say it anyway.
There's any small confidence and there's not hopes. So as for me saying, I really speak the lines that we have as the post, as we welcome you. This will be very journey, accessibility, and cardiology.
The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Mahmoud Adam Gambari, was posted from the Service Welfare Office in the office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. From the nation's capital, Joycelyn Elakache Ada, Aso Television News.
Now, the newly appointed Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Education, Mrs. Didi Esther Wilson-Jack, has officially assumed her duties. She was received at the ministry's headquarters by the directors overseeing the office of the Permanent Secretary, Alhaji Zubairu Abdullahi, and other directors. In her address, Mrs. Wilson-Jack pledged to foster a culture of excellence and meritocracy within the ministry. She stressed the importance of maintaining truth, honesty, fairness, and justice in all operations.
In our modus operandi, let us acknowledge that our work is a sacred duty for God, the federal government, and the good people of Nigeria. Inefficiency and dereliction of duty impact lives directly So we must use education to uplift every Nigerian to their full potential, contributing to a stronger, democratic, and indivisible nation under God. Our most significant duty is to provide the expertise and administrative framework, act as the engine room, and do all within our competence to support the political leadership of the Honorable Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, OON, SAN, the Honorable Minister of State, Honorable Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu, and the federal government to achieve the mandate of the ministry for the people of Nigeria, as well as fulfill its international obligations.
She further expressed enthusiasm about joining the Federal Ministry of Education, one of the ministry which she said has a nationwide mandate to prescribe and maintain uniform education standards throughout the country. She also was first appointed as a permanent secretary in 2017 by the then President Muhammadu Buhari and had demonstrated exceptional leadership and commitment in various capacities, including her roles as permanent secretary in the Service Welfare Office of the Head of Service of the Civil Service of the Federation, Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, Federal Ministry of Power and Water Resources, and of course sanitation. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Architect Ahmed Musa Dangiwa, says the national housing must be priorities in the renewed hope vision of building $1 trillion economy. The minister made this known at the inauguration of the 4 reform tax team to reduce housing deficit in Nigeria. Holina Adojo reports.
4 new tax team, namely the Housing Institution Tax Team, the Multi-Agency Project Delivery Team, the Land Reform Tax Team, and the Building Materials Manufacturing Hub Tax Team are made up of public and private professionals and stakeholders in the housing sector, charged with the responsibility of developing a comprehensive strategy, chart a roadmap, and also formulate policies that are inclusive, as well as stand the test of time in the quest for mass housing in the country. Inaugurating the team, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Architect Ahmed Musa Dangiwa, noted that the country is still grappling with huge housing deficit despite policies and plans by previous government to close the gap, adding that obsolete housing laws has failed to deliver the housing needs for citizens. The minister said the reform tax team was carefully selected, urged members to make history and work diligently for the attainment of the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
The good news now is that our President, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, recognized that to achieve renewed hope vision target of building $1 trillion economy, housing must be prioritized. This means undertaking comprehensive housing reform, sector reforms that will ensure that systemic and prevalent issues that have caused underdevelopment are fixed. All legal impediments are removed and the institutional frameworks for housing agencies necessary to ensure that they deliver optimally on their mandates to deliver decent and affordable housing to Nigerians are reviewed and upgraded.
In a remark, the chairman of the Multi-Agency Project Delivery Tax Team, Brigadier General Tunde Rees, retired, whose terms of reference include developing a comprehensive strategy and roadmap to construct at least 50,000 houses yearly through multi-funding, says the team will deliver on its mandate.
So for a change, there are no excuses. We've got everything that we need to succeed, and I do hope that with the support of the members of this task team, the objectives of our committee will be achieved.
The reform tax team, which were charged to unlock the massive potentials of the housing sector for economic growth, is expected to submit its recommendations in 8 weeks. Hulina Adojo, Aso Television News.
APC National Chairman Alhaji Abdullahi Ganduje has said that the party is set to establish National Institute for Progressive Studies. Alhaji Ganduje made this known when members of INEC in charge of party's monitoring and compliance paid him a courtesy visit in Abuja. Chopsy Gimba covered the visit and reports that while receiving the delegation, Alhaji Abdullahi said that aside from establishing the Institute for Progressive Studies, APC is ensuring that all its offices from ward to national levels are active year out.
And therefore, we have decided to make our party active throughout the year, not necessarily during the election period. In developing countries, usually parties are only active when there is an election. But it shouldn't be so. Also, we have already directed that all our party offices, ranging from ward, local government, zone, and state, physically, the offices must be habitual.
Earlier, the director in charge of election and monitoring and head of the delegation, Hajia Hawa Habib, said the team was on an assessment tour on all political parties to ensure compliance of having active offices across the country. Also speaking, the National Secretary of the party and former Senator, Dr. Ajibola Bashiru, assured the time of APC's viability while ensuring the team of conducting them around the Secretariat for an on-the-spot assessment. Now, the Steering Committee of the Nigerian COVID-19 Action Recovery and Economic Stimulus, NG Cares, says it has successfully recorded 2 rounds of assessment by the independent verification agent and reimbursed all states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. The Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, in Abuja during the inauguration of the committee, pledged to maximize effective implementation of the program in all participating states across the nation. Business correspondent Ile Emeje tells us more.
In his remarks at the inauguration ceremony of the Steering Committee for Nigeria COVID-19 Action Recovery and Economic Stimulus, NGS Cares in Abuja, Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, noted objectives of the committee and members while inaugurating the committee.
The primary objective of this meeting is to inaugurate the Federal Cares Steering Committee meeting under the NG Cares program. And without wasting time, I will just announce that the members of the Federal Cares Steering Committee are the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, the Honorable Minister, Federal Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Honorable Minister, Industry, Trade and Investment, Honorable Minister, Women Affairs, Honorable Minister, Federal Minister of Environment and Ecological Management, Honorable Minister, Federal Ministry of Education, Honorable Minister, Ministry of Labor and Employment, Permanent Secretary, Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty, representing the Honorable Minister, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation, Executive Director, Nigerian Governors Forum, as well as Director, Economic Growth and Chairman of the Federal Cares Technical Committee, as well as Secretary of this committee. So it is therefore my pleasure and honor to humbly, on behalf of the federal government, inaugurate the Federal Cares Steering Committee of the NG Cares program to the glory of God and advancement of the cause of poor and vulnerable Nigerians.
Senator Bagudu highlighted sources of funding.
One of the major sources of cheap funding for our 2024 budget is the undisbursed loans from the World Bank. So if we can accelerate, that is one source of funding for the federal and states. And the remarkable feature of the NG Cares program, states can decide to spend it in agriculture, in women affairs, in water resources, in environment, in training, NDE, and whatever. So, and as well as, okay, even though it's tangential to this issue. Secondly, and equally important, is the fact that most of these loans that are undisbursed come from the IDA. The World Bank give both international development, what is known as International Development Association loan, which is interest rate about 1%.
Other stakeholders, including the project coordinator, reiterated leadership quality of the federal government and the renewed hope agenda of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led administration, while pledging more support.
There are already some indication of opportunity for this intervention. Moving already established very, very strong structures at the state level. We have, as we speak, we have 158 delivery platforms to call across all of the states and FCT, which are very, very spectacular and well in delivering service to poor and vulnerable in the country. I want to say that the Honorable Minister is very much in support of this initiative because of the structure that we have built in all the states and FCT. So it is an ongoing discussion and progress, I'm sure a lot of progress is being made.
In the face of challenges of food insecurity, high cost of running businesses, poor purchasing power, and general uncertainty of life that the average Nigerian is grappling with on daily basis, the NG Cares program is structured to positively intervene.
Ile Emeje.
Well, that's a bulletin, but before we go, another look at one of our major stories. President Bola Tinubu has expressed sadness over the devastating explosion that occurred on Tuesday night in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Well, that's a bulletin. I am Joy Annie. Thank you for watching.